The disaster. Okay, so this is for EOL number 5. We learned about summative and formative assessments. Now I felt like I already kind of had a decent understanding of this just because I'm a senior now. I've made plenty of lesson plans and I've been in a lot of courses, but I still found like I gained some knowledge. So formative assessments typically are given to students and helps provide teachers with like information to adjust and adapt lessons and instruction so students are successful with summative assessments. A couple examples of formative assessments include benchmark assessments, exit slips, homework assignments, group work activity, and such. And they're going to be very easily administered and interpreted, and they're generally free to create. It just allows for like strategic planning when creating lessons. It's important that when you're giving a formative assessment that you are making sure you're doing it in the correct way and not just giving it to the student just to give it. You should always make your assignments intentional and understand why you think this is a good way to test your students. So summative assessments are a little more difficult and less common in the classroom because normally they come after teaching a broad content area. But it's important that we administer these correctly because they are generally more high stakes in formative assessment. So we need to make sure we align the assessment aligns with the goals and expected outcomes of instruction. So it's important we can provide our students with a grading rubric so they understand what they're being tested on, and then we design clear and effective questions and don't purposely try to trick our students. So that is something we must note. One thing I learned about creating these summative assessments was kind of just like a general guideline on how to make sure it's successful. We should incorporate 3 to 5 questions per skill, so that about 12 to 20 questions total. And then readability should be at about a 4th grade level. Now this is something I never thought about, but it makes perfect sense because you don't want to confuse a student and have a student's grade not be reflected properly just because they weren't able to read what was in front of them. And then we need to order our questions from lowest stock to highest stock. And the number of answer questions choices should be consistent. So given all this, I'm going to go ahead and share some types of summative assessments. Like I said, they're not used as much just because they're bigger and normally at the end of content area. So this is going to be like instructor-created exams, standardized tests, final projects, final essays, final presentations, final reports, and final grades. So these results are often not as immediate results and are often more general and unspecific. It does not allow for continuous feedback on student learning and does not allow for continuous feedback on teacher effectiveness because they aren't given as much. But it's important that a summative assessment answers all these big questions, such as, did all our students learn the material? Are all our students successful with all our learning? And when creating, and are we successful with all our students? So if we're able to know all this, then it's a successful assessment. So essentially, like I said in the beginning of this video, I feel like this was more of a refresher on stuff I already knew, but it's helpful because you can never have too much information and sources.